Yes, this is the Yardman Second Chance program coming to you one more time where we inform, inspire, educate, and motivate people. And it's sponsored by Deeds Fashion out of New York. And we're here talking with Paul. He's giving us his story. This is part 3 of his story. Let's go, Paul. You was telling me that you moved down to Alberta and you met some bikers.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I was half and half, you know.
Yeah.
So I had one family in Montreal, one family in Alberta.
Wow, you're King
So,
Solomon, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I met up back with these bikers at these games, you know, and I was doing my thing as usual.
Yes.
And, you know, I was told to bring some good stuff from the East.
Yes.
For these games, you know, so
Yeah.
I was there and the games was going on, and these guys were started to hook up, and they were buying stuff and thing, you know, and
Yeah.
I remember one of the times, you know, there was like a big drought.
Yes.
Nowhere we couldn't get good weed, you know, so these guys was telling me that they had some coke.
Yeah.
So we could make some money with the coke.
Yeah.
Well, I had a friend in Vancouver. That's how I ended up visiting Vancouver.
Beautiful Vancouver, man. That's where I'm at right now.
Yes. You're right.
Yes.
I had this friend he was at the games too, from Vancouver.
Yeah.
And he was telling me that, you know, he had people who would be buying left, right, and center with that shit. So,
yeah,
you know, I took something from these guys and I went to Vancouver with him.
Yeah.
And it worked out pretty good. And I was saying, well, you know, there was a drought, but at the same time, you know, there were these Italian people.
Yeah.
Who bought some of this thing, you know.
Yeah.
And they were getting pot from Cambodia.
Oh.
And all of the East Coast was dry, and over Vancouver we had weed.
Yeah.
So I went back to these guys and I took more of the shit, and I went to Vancouver and I traded it.
Oh.
So I started trading the shit and taking a nice amount of weed.
Okay.
The weed was really good.
So you trade the cocaine and you get weed.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
In fact, a lot of these Cambodia strains that are in Jamaica.
Yes.
I used to give it to friends I had from Westmoreland.
Oh.
I used to get all the seeds out of the weed, and I used to package those seeds, and they would go on vacation and bring those seeds to Jamaica.
Okay. Okay.
And about a year or two later, I started getting those weed from Jamaica.
Wow.
Those guys, they used to bring it up.
Yes.
So, you know, yeah. But, you know, the link was growing, and I kept these trade, you know, and
yes.
Yeah, these guys used to get this stuff really, you know, they're bikers, you know, they're like the mafia, you know.
Yeah. I know about
so
those
they
biker
get really
guys.
cheap prices.
The Hells Angel guys and them guys.
Unbelievable cheap prices, you know.
Yeah.
Like, you know, half of what it was going for.
Yeah, because they got connections.
So I was able to make ends meet really good.
Right.
I mean, I was doing pretty good.
Yeah.
But, you know, these guys have a bad rep.
Yeah, I know.
And the RCMP is really onto these guys.
Yeah, the bikers.
So I didn't realize when I was speaking to these guys, my phone was being tapped.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, these mountains, they stormed me one at a time, you know, and I just got, I think it was about 3 keys.
Wow.
From these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was to meet somebody at a place, and On the way in, I saw something I didn't like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this guy who turned his back.
Yeah.
And then I looked around and I saw two guys in the car.
Yeah.
And, well, I kind of walked past the house I was to go in.
Yeah.
I went into the next building.
Right.
And it was one of those buildings that you didn't have to buzz.
Right.
So when I went in, you know, I kind of put myself under the staircase and I was watching.
Right.
And the guy who was walking, he went over to the car.
Uh-huh.
And then I saw these three guys, they were coming in.
Oh.
So I didn't like this, you know, so I just took the fire escape, came out through the back,
Yeah.
and there was a small wall. So I just hopped the wall and went over to the next road.
Yeah.
And I just went right down to the main road.
Yes.
And I saw a cab, and I jumped in the cab, and I took that and I went downtown Vancouver
Yeah.
to a mall, you know, and I went through one door,
Yeah.
and I walked right through the mall to the other end, and I jumped in another cab.
You keep moving.
Yeah. Yeah, keep moving, man. And
Yeah.
when I left there, I took that cab, and I went to a motel,
Yes.
and I local for the night, you know.
Yes.
So the guy I was supposed to meet, when I called him the next day from the phone booth,
Yeah.
guy says to me, shit, you know, I was wondering if you were going to walk in at the same time as the cops, but they came and they were trying to bust me, but I was so dry they didn't find nothing.
Right. Right. You're slicker than them.
Yeah. But they thought I had reached there already.
Okay.
They thought they were
Okay.
going to catch him with the stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the stuff didn't reach there.
Yeah.
So we switched our plan, you know, and I met the guy at the racetrack.
Okay.
And, yeah, we did our business, and everything was worked out. I told him I saw the guys, and he said, shit, man, you got it. You got a different brain, man. You really see things.
Yeah, you're thinking ahead of them.
I left there, and I loaded up with some herb again, and I took a train.
Yeah.
Instead of the bus, I took a train.
Right.
I switched everything. The whole program, I just moved different, and I just took the train.
Yeah.
I went over to Calgary,
Right.
and yeah, when I was there, it's like I left a lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
That was the amount for Calgary, you know.
Yes.
And I took the rest and I went to Montreal because, I mean, this Cambodia weed was really good, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I took that to Montreal, it's like I could sell it for nearly $1,000 more than what weed was selling for in Montreal.
Oh, it was
People
hot bread.
buying it like shit, man.
It's going like hot bread.
I remember now when I went back to Calgary
Yes.
one day now, and these bikers told me to come and meet them at a bar.
Yeah.
So on the way in at the bar, I saw this guy who was on a skateboard.
Right.
And I remember I used to see this guy all the while
Yeah.
near where I live, skating around. But I didn't realize this guy was an undercover guy who was
Ah.
watching me at my house.
Wow.
Because then they knew me, but I keep switching the program and they never got to nab me.
Yeah.
So they were really trying to set me up properly.
Yes.
But when I saw this guy, you know, because he's a long hair guy and all that, you know,
Yeah.
I kind of shifted the move, you know,
Yeah.
and I went into a movie theater.
Oh.
And I didn't bother to show up.
Yes.
So the next day I called the guys and I told them what was happening, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, they told me that they had to leave their car because when they came out, one of them knew one of the narcs, you know,
Yes.
and yeah, they just took a taxi, and they had a bag, and they thought that stuff was in the bag, but it wasn't. It wasn't nothing in the bag.
Okay, so they didn't find nothing.
Yeah. So one of them ended up in jail that night because there was a gun in the bag.
Ah.
So anyway, yeah. Anyway, we call and we meet. You know, there was a man called Barry.
Yeah.
He had a little Jamaican N, you know. So I told him to meet me there, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got my stuff and I left there. As I got it, I left.
Yes.
And as I left there, the place was raided.
Wow, you're always a step out of them, man.
I remember that night, you know.
Yeah.
5 minutes after I leave, I get a call. I say, shit, man, the whole place is storming. RCMP everywhere.
They were after you, man.
Yeah. So, you know.
Yeah.
I was in a car now with the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't want to carry it home.
Yes.
So I was in a car going by a friend.
Yes.
And it was me and my lady in the car, you know.
Yes.
And this guy from England,
Yeah.
he was living there in Calgary. Well, he goes on like a Jamaican because he got Jamaican parents,
Yeah, yeah.
you know. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's a fake Jamaican.
When I went to my friend to leave it there, he
Yeah.
was there,
Yeah.
you know. And he and the man was telling me, you know, that, you know, they had this buyer
Mm-hmm.
who wanted like half of a key.
Yes.
So I told him, okay, I'll go talk to the guy, you know. And I met up with this guy.
Yes.
And when I went and talked to the guy, I was smoking a big Bob Marley spliff, you know, a real baseball bat. Like.
Yeah. A big head.
And, you know, I was telling the man that I had some of this real good weed. You want to taste it?
Yeah.
And the guy says to me, no, man, I don't smoke pot. I only smoke cocaine.
Yeah.
It's like he hit me with a 2x4, man. Like I said, shit.
Yeah.
Nobody says that. Nobody calls that word.
Yes.
That's like a bad word. I mean.
Yes.
So he asked me if I brought the stuff. I told him no.
Yes.
You can't do business like that. I wanted to see what was happening
Yeah.
and really make sure you agree with the price and everything.
So that guy was undercover too.
Yeah, big undercover top narc, you know.
All right. Okay, Paul, hold it there. Hold it there, Paul. We're going to take another break. Right? Because this is really interesting, man. Paul here was telling me his story. Real interesting story. And this is sponsored by Deeds Fashion out of New York. And the second chance program. We're talking with Paul. We'll be back to talk with Paul some more.